Welcome back to the Wandering Turtle. Today we're going to talk about my paints. I use, in watercolor, I have been using exclusively Lucas paints. And Lucas is a company out of Germany who make a reasonably priced but excellent product. And as you can see here, I have 24 pans, and I just bought this. I was using a different kind of a holder before, and I wanted something that I could actually fold up and take with me on the road this spring. And this is a great little pan. It was cheap. Some of the pans I found, what they wanted like $80 for the pan, the empty holder. And then I found this on Amazon, and it was $13. It's not the best made, it's Chinese, but it folds up into a neat, nice, compact carrying case for me, and so it's going to meet my needs. I have other palettes that I use. Some are big, some are small, some are just for mixing colors. This one actually came with some little wells if you wanted to put little dabs of liquid paint in there, and then they've got 4 nice chambers for mixing colors. So to give you an idea about the quality of this paint, let me grab here a piece of paper. This is we'll get past my little. This is a piece of, or a journal, I guess you'd call it, of really rough handmade paper, and I have used it for several things. I'm not sure I quite like it yet, but we'll see. Now this is a mixed color that I did and used in one of my painting, but you can see that if I draw this through, it gets thinner and thinner, but the pigment of the color works really well. Some of these are sort of transparent, semi-transparent. Some, like this one, is Naples yellow, and it has a tendency to be a little more opaque, but you can see that it holds the color a lot longer on the stroke than this mixture of black, and there's a little bit of blue and brown in there. So the colors of this is why I like. Now I've had this set of full pans probably for about 3 or 4 years, and I'm not even halfway through them. So this is almost like a cadmium red, but you can see that the colors certainly drag out a good ways. They cover well. Now to see how opaque they are, you would have to, let's get a blue here. The more you put on the brush, the more you load the brush, the more color you're going to get. And if you dampen it and you want to stretch it, you can pull it and just pull it and pull it and pull it. Okay, so that's why I picked Lucas. I know there are other companies out there. A lot of artists prefer tubes. I for myself, don't particularly like to use tubes, because if they sit too long, they just harden up, just like the pan. So I figure, why not use the pan instead of a tube? The pans Now, some of these in Lucas, a whole pan will run you somewhere around $6-7, something like that. Half pans are about anywhere $3 to $5. Tubes in Lucas brand, tubes start at about $6, and you can pay up to about $15 for a tube. So I do use tubes when it comes to opaque watercolors, and this is my tray for my opaques. And I don't concentrate on Lucas brands when it comes to the opaques. You can see here that for the most part, Graham is my choice. Their color is super rich. You can thin it, you can make it thick. Let me grab my book again. And we'll go back to this sheet here. I'm going to put just a touch of this. This is yellow ochre. I'm just going to put a little bit in my mixing pan because this thing, it really doesn't take much to get get the color there. So I'm going to use my small round again, and I'm just going to dip into this. Now, the great thing about opaque is a lot of graphic artists use it. I like it when I need to really cover something. I'm going to cross over this blue and show you that the blue pretty much disappears underneath that opaque. If I go, same thing with, if I go to the yellow over here, the yellow that I put on before, it's going to just wipe it out. So I think that the opaques are great for layering, and if you have something in a background and you want to go over the top of it with a darker color, opaques is a great way to do it. There are also some what they call transparent watercolors that really, because of the pigments in them, are not as transparent as some of the other colors. So that's all things to think of. So here's how it works. I'll get to the point. Lucas, for the same, basically the same price as Graham. The difference is one is 15 milliliters and Lucas provides them in 20 milliliters. And what you get in the cost of that, the Graham run a little more expensive. However, like I said, the pigment is much richer. You need a lot less paint. But that's not to downgrade Lucas. Lucas opaques are a wonderful paint, and I have found maybe the shades or the pigment mixtures of Graham please my eye more than Lucas, but I do have some Lucas. So it's like 75% Graham and 25%. Oh, and then there's, this one's even a third brand, but the only reason I picked up this third brand, it is because this is a cadmium red, and the other ones, cadmiums are very expensive. So this one was the least expensive out of the group, and it's very pungent. So the color is really rich. Okay, enough on paint. The other thing I wanted to talk about was some of the other tools that you're going to find useful in watercolors. If you do light preliminary sketches, these are pencils made by General in different softnesses or hardnesses. Of course, the harder the lead, the lighter the stroke. And this is what I use for my sketching on the watercolor paper, because it is very hard, and it sharpens well, holds a point well, but I can draw with a moderate amount of pressure without denting the paper or leaving black marks behind. Okay, so another one I use is this, and this is a run-of-the-mill 7mm cheapo click pen from Walmart. You can probably get a dozen of them for $6. I like them because they're cheap, the lead is cheap, and you can get packages of lead and erasers for them like this. And if the eraser gets gnarly, you just chuck it and you put in a brand new one. I do not use these erasers on my watercolor paper. I have never been able to lift graphite with any of these white erasers without causing smears or damage to the paper. So I usually use these for just darkening up the line areas that I want a little more pronounced before I paint. Some people use charcoal. This is the black charcoal pencil. It is pressed also by Generals. You can see here it says medium, it's just a medium hardness. I don't normally use this at all in watercolors, but I do use it for just general drawing, or to put some lines down on canvas, because the oil paint is just going to wipe it out anyway. Okay. A third little charming thing are these. These are natural sponges. Sponges are something that you can use as a blotter. Actually, you can pick paint up, because a sponge is just that. It's an absorbent structure. But you can also, because the textures are all so different. I mean, if you look at this one, and then you look at this one, the structure of the sponge, being a sea creature, it has a direction. So you can get some flat areas if you wanted to use your paint, and we'll do a demo on that later on in another episode. Or you can get these points and just barely get the paint on there, and you could use it for maybe making trees. Also another demonstration. So sponges are good to have. They're cheap. You can get them at art supply stores. I got these at Michael's. You can pick them up at Hobby Lobby. But you're going to need to go somewhere that has art supplies. Walmart has a limited amount. Target has a limited amount. I have never seen sponges in any of the big box department stores. So it's actually, I do, if I'm going to do local shopping, I go to Hobby Lobby or Michael's. I think they have reasonable prices for their products, and they have a good variety. And sometimes there's just really items on the shelf that spur your imagination and help you think about new ideas, some direction to go. All right, so that's pencils and sponges. And the last thing I want to cover in this is erasers. I'm gonna show you this one. This one is a Factus. It came in a drawing set that I was given. Like the eraser on the mechanical pencil, you can see right here, it's a creature that's just gonna ruin your watercolor paper. If you want to use this for your drawing and you want to take up, but you know what, it's just, I don't know, it's not a good eraser for me. bear in mind, everything I'm telling you is because of what I found from my personal experience. Then there's art gum. And art gum, I don't use this on my watercolor paper, although I have it at times. I just don't like the results as well. This is great for drawing, and they're inexpensive also. You can get those just about anywhere. Here's the one that I like, and this is a kneadable eraser, and I've kept it in the kit. I have a couple of them. I use these the most, and the reason I do is this is Master's Touch. So I got this from Hobby Lobby, and it was like I got 2 for $1.25, something like that. However, if you go to Jerry's had some. I don't know if they still do, but as of last week, so they had these on, and you could get them for like $0.25 a piece. So if if you got 10 of them, you'd have $2.50, and they last a long time. So here's the good thing: you can take these things and you can pull them, you can stretch them, and that's why they call it kneadable. Because if it looks like it's getting dirty, it's like clay. You just take in fact, it's a lot like clay. It just does not leave any oil residue. But the nice thing I like about this is you can form it into a tiny little tip like that, where you can rub into a corner of something and actually lift the graphite out, or you can take and just press it like this, and it will lighten the thing. If it gets dirty, like I said, just knead it again, and you're good to go. I keep it in here because I just have this aversion to thinking that I don't know if it will, but I have this aversion to think that it's going to dry out, and I don't want it to dry out. I don't know that that's the case. So we've talked about pencils, paints, sponges, erasers. There are 2 more things I want to cover and we'll be done. This is masking fluid, and you can see here that this is by Winsor & Newton. This, I think, cost me about $12. It lasts a long time because I don't use it on large areas, but it is a liquid masking fluid, and I will do a demonstration on all of this stuff. I just want to get the preliminaries out of the way. So this is great for covering an area that you want to remain white or a lighter color, and so that you can do washes over the top of it. And then once everything dries, then you can peel this off and it'll reveal what's underneath. It's a great little thing. And this, I didn't used to use these at all, but I found that instead of using a brush to cover a large area to get it wet, these were like $2 for a pair of them, so $1 a piece. And these little misters are wonderful for getting your paper wet and then using the brush to spread it out and even out the water. And it is also a wonderful thing if you see an area on your paper that's beginning to dry out and you need to keep it wet, you can give it a couple of shots with this and keep that paint from drying out too much. If it dries out too much and then you try and use a brush with water, you can get blooms or you can get edges that look really funky. So yeah, this is it's a good cheap buy. I've seen some, this is a small one. I've seen people with bigger ones. You probably could use an atomizer like for a garden and it would make it just right. Okay. And I'm looking over here at my tray, and so I'm going to show you what I bought years and years ago. But when I am mixing a large quantity of pigment to do a wash with, I want more pigment already mixed and prepped that I'm going to need to put on the paper. That way, if something happens, I don't have to try and remix the color and hope that it's close. I just already have it mixed. So these are ceramic or porcelain, and they are just mixing wells like that I had on my palette, but they're a little bit deep. They're probably, at the bottom to the top up here, maybe 3/8 of an inch deep. So I can mix a lot of pigment. And when I'm done, if I don't want to get rid of that, I can cover it, and they're stackable. I have a set of 6. And if this dries out, it's okay. If I'm going to use it in the painting later, maybe to put in darker colors, this will help me not have to mix again. If it evaporates and it dries out, it's all right. It's like in the corner of this pan. All I had to do is just activate it again with some water, and it's already mixed, so I don't have to worry about trying to get the mixture correct again. Okay, I've talked enough. I hope this was helpful. We are going to start doing some demos and on the watercolor. We're going to start small and work out. I want this to be kind of like a way I would teach a math class, where I start someplace and I build on those ideas. And then we'll hopefully get to do a painting together. I'd like you to join in. So maybe I can give you some exercises to work with in later episodes. I thank you very much. I appreciate your subscriptions. I appreciate you bearing with me and putting up with me. I love this stuff. I hope you love it. It's a passion for me, and it's the older I get, the more the passion. So see you next time. Thank you very much. Have a great day.